IVM.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach, and today in the hot seat we have Omkar. Omkar asks a question: how to let go of something we worked hard for but failed to achieve? Now I know this feeling all too well, and I'm sure every single person listening to this podcast knows this feeling where they put their blood, sweat, tears, toil, everything into what they were about to do. They had such high hopes for what the outcome's going to be. They felt like this is going to be that moment that defines their life, their career, their relationships, and then it fails. It doesn't go according to plan. Everything that you had hoped for has been destroyed. Now, obviously, the first thought that comes to mind is, did it fail because of me? Did it fail because of an outside interference? Did it fail because of some other person? The truth is that whenever there is failure, you have to take complete ownership over that failure. So this is step one. And this is something that the Stoics talk about a lot. And as you guys know, I'm a big fan of the Stoic philosophers. So the Stoic philosophers say that no matter what is happening, you should feel like you are responsible for it. Because when you feel that you are responsible for it, it basically means that you have the ability to respond to something. Responsibility as in the ability to respond to something. So you are in control of whatever is happening in the world. Now you can take this to an extreme where you say, if there is a war happening in that country, I am responsible for it. And why do I say something as silly as that? I say this because if that war was important enough for you, you would end up doing something to stop it. You would have done something to prevent it. And everybody has the ability to do these things, to go far beyond what we think we are capable of. But it only happens when we take complete ownership and complete responsibility of what is happening in the world. And I think I did a podcast on radical ownership. Maybe this is something that you can listen to after this, Omkar. So the first step is, don't blame others for whatever has happened. Come back, figure out what it is that you could have done differently. So the steps that I follow every time I have a failure is: step one, what have I learned? Step two, what could I do differently next time? And then step three, do that thing differently next time. Omkar, there's so many people who go from failure to failure to failure to failure to failure and never to success because they don't learn from their mistakes. Because they say, oh, that happened, and they blame it on other people, and they'll make the same mistake the next time. Or they'll say, oh my God, I can't believe that this happened. And then what do? They go and make the same mistake because they haven't learned anything from it. So if you follow this 3-step pattern, what have I learned from this? What can I do about it? And then do something about it. There is no way that you will not eventually achieve your victory. In one of the podcasts that I was recording with somebody else, they asked me, what would be the line that was written on your tombstone? What is that one line that you lived your life by? And Omkar, the line that I wrote was, fail, 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 win. Because everything that I've done in my life, I have failed at till I figured out how to win at. Now, you have to move from failure to failure without any loss of enthusiasm, as Winston Churchill said, in order to finally achieve that victory, in order to build your character, in order to finally achieve everything that you've been wanting to do. All right, so Omkar and everybody else listening to this, every time you have a failure, follow these 3 steps. What have I learned from this? What do I need to do about it so it doesn't happen in the future? And then do that, make that change, and you're just going to go from your failures to victories. Now, if you want to be featured on the next hot seat episode of The Habit Coach, check the link below. Send me a nice, long, big description of what you're going through, and I'll definitely answer your question. Usually in a podcast, it's me who speaks to you and you who listens. But I've been seeing your comments, and it's time. It's me listening to you. Following the overwhelming success of this podcast, the good folks at IVM Podcast Network have decided to come up with a Kannada adaptation of the show for those who prefer listening to it in that language. Do make sure you let your Kannada speaking friends know about this as well. Now, if you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am at Ashdin Doc on Twitter and Instagram. We have a brand new habit coaching online course, quizzes, videos, and a lot more on the website awesome180.com. So check it out now.
Hello. It's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Think Fast, Varun and Suchita discuss the Twitter sting operation and Jack Ma pulling out of Paytm. On Capgemini's Techipedia series, Sheila Aditya speaks to Anand Chandramouli and Deepak Solanki about sustainable harvesting practices through digital farming. On The Wire Talks, Siddharth talks to author and translator Navdeep Suri about the partition and the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. On Marathi Khidkitun, the Deshmukhs explore how animals and birds gauge their sense of distance in the environment. And on Big Talk About Tiny Humans, Devi Shobha and Meghna explain the right way to talk to children about sex and sexuality. We've got some exciting news for you. IVM Podcast has launched merchandise and our first line is out now. Head to the IVM Podcast website and click on the shop tab and check out the first collection of t-shirts. Do follow us on social media as well. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening to us on, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple, wherever you do that is really helpful for us. And do remember, you can also check a lot of our shows out on YouTube. If you go to ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, you get a list of all of our channels. We're also doing a small listener survey, so please do help us out with that. If you go to ivmpodcast.com/survey, it'll help us understand a little bit more about our listeners. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, SBI Life Insurance, Jupiter, a digital banking app, and Capgemini. Get the future you want. Thank you so much. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. There's a quick survey to fill out on ivmpodcast.com/survey. It lets us know a little bit more about who's listening to us. And you know what? We're going to do a few prizes. So, we'll do a random drawing of maybe 10 people and we'll send you all some swag. Remember, that's ivmpodcast.com/survey where you can fill out the survey.